There are dozens of reasons why you should be able to ride your motorcycle on the pegs, getting your ass up off the seat. And there's probably even quite a few videos out there that tell you why you need to do this. That's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how you can comfortably and confidently start standing on your pegs pretty quickly with just a few drills that you could do in a parking lot. If you want to learn more, stick around. Moto Giants. What I want to talk to you today specifically about is going slow over obstacles like this using 3 controls: throttle, brake, clutch. More importantly, the use of your rear brake. But I can't show you my foot, so it's throttle, brake, clutch. And using all 3 of those in combination will allow you to get much more comfortable to the point where you can stand on your pegs. Even if you're a new rider, you should be convinced by now the importance of getting your ass up off the seat, but it's just one of many skills that you need to learn to be a good off-road rider. To protect not only your ass, but most importantly your spine and your neck. But if you're a young rider, you may not be concerned about that just yet. So if you're young enough to still believe that you're immortal, perhaps you should worry about being immortalized on the web by not getting your ass up off the seat. This is what happens to you, so don't be that guy that goes over the handlebars. Oh sure, you can crawl over these holes and the dips and the trenches and over the logs, or you can ride over them efficiently and quickly. And trust me, the faster you learn how to navigate this rough terrain correctly, the more enjoyment you will have and the less obstacles you will actually see. You work your way up, but you got to start somewhere, and the best way to start is learning how to get up off the seat, stand on your pegs, and operate your motorcycle correctly. The fastest way to learn some rough terrain skills is to practice and learn low speed skills that you can pick up in a parking lot. It does not make any sense to the rider that has not done these drills before, but trust me, it works. If you can go slow like this in a parking lot, you can go slow like this on a trail and set your bike up to do exactly what you want it to do. It takes a lot of practice, but it's the best place to start, especially when you're getting your butt up off the seat. By using a combination of your brakes, throttle, and clutch, you can actually balance your bike and make short, small turns like this in a parking lot. Once you become comfortable with the balance of your bike, you can start easily standing up on your pegs and operating your bike from a standing position. It's all about confidence and comfort, because once you get up on your pegs and start leaning onto your bars, it becomes very uncomfortable, especially if you don't know how to control your motorcycle. But the first step is to admit that you have a problem. And if you're not sure if you have a problem, there is one way to assess your skill level, and you can do that easily in a parking lot with 4 parking spaces. And that is the assessment. You may look at this drill and realize immediately that you can't do that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you can learn how to do it. It just takes a little bit of practice and understanding the skills that you need to be able to execute these turns. So step 1, find an empty parking lot. Don't worry about this step. If there's a lot of people traveling through the parking lot, it's the wrong one. There's lots of empty parking lots. Church parking lots, school parking lots, shopping centers that have been closed down for years. There's lots of places for you to find 4 empty spaces. In this assessment, you will attempt to execute the box. You're going to roll down one parking space into the other. Once you cross into the next space, you're going to exit and roll into the adjoining space on the far side as close as you can to the edge of the space. You're going to do the same thing on the opposite side and turn around where you came in originally. Now, if you try this drill and fail, it's okay. Most people can't make this turn their first time. It's a very difficult turn if you don't know how to do it. If you can't make the turn, don't panic, don't freak out. We're going to show you how. Bottom line is, now you know what is wrong with your skills, and you know you're going to have to get to work. So let's get to work. Honestly, this drill can be made on any street bike, unless you're a really long stretched out chopper, but especially a dual sport, and all adventure bikes should be able to make this turn. So if you don't think that your bike will turn this sharp, you're wrong. Over the last decade, I have seen close to 2,000 different styles of motorcycle attempt and succeed similar drills on various different bikes, and so many of the folks that I coached said the same thing. My motorcycle won't do that. And if they didn't give up in the first 10 minutes, guess what? Their motorcycle would do that. It's the rider, it's not the motorcycle. The technique that you have to learn is hard because it's unnatural. You're using throttle, brake, and clutch at the same time to balance your bike. That's the hard concept. In this example, Kyle is using his throttle, brakes, and clutch to turn in this really tight box. This is just about impossible to do without lots of brake, lots of throttle, and a good amount of clutch added in there to balance the bike. When he leans the bike in, he's using his brakes. When he pulls the bike out, he's using his throttle and clutch. It's a balancing act. It's a really hard concept, and the only way for you to learn this concept and this skill set is to practice it in a parking lot. Balance your bike by throwing it into the turns with the brakes and pulling it up and out of the turn with the throttle. It's a balancing act. As you approach your turn, adding brake will throw your bike into the turn. Adding throttle and clutch will pull it out of the turn. And the opposite is true. More brake leans it in, more throttle and clutch pulls it out. It's a balancing act. And if you did not pass the assessment, we're going to put you in the really big box, which is 6 parking spaces. This is essentially the same drill with a bigger box. The exercise is to attempt to make tight, leaning turns at a low speed and balancing your bike with throttle, brake, and clutch. A combination of those 3 elements will allow you to lean your bike in a sharp turn, and in this case, a less sharp turn, but it will allow you to attempt to turn your bike tighter with throttle, brake, and clutch than you could normally. And hopefully this will be less intimidating. And when you get the hang of it, try to go into the 2 lanes, or the 2 parking spaces instead of the 3. So you can switch it up. You can do figure 8s in those 2 once you get the feel for it. And the goal is to eventually, and maybe not your first day, but eventually once you feel comfortable turning in those tight spaces, I want you to eventually try to get up on the pegs and do the same thing. If you can master not only the big box but the little box, and eventually get up into the small 2 spaces side by side, if you can master those 2 and eventually get up on your pegs and master those turns on your pegs, you can do just about anything on your pegs. There may be some more skills you need to learn, but if you can ride in between 2 lanes like this on your pegs, then you've come a long way. And I would suggest that maybe spend a few days practicing on your seat, because you don't want to fall down at low speed turns on your first day. So if it's not comfortable the first day, come back and practice this. These skills translate to the street tremendously. Low speeds, high speeds, everything. This all translates. Now, once you master the 4-space box, you could take this skill set out to the dirt and try it out there. It starts getting tricky once you get on an unlevel playing field, things start getting a little bit more interesting, and the uneven spaces become a lot more difficult, especially in grassy spots like this. You can't really see where the terrain is. Going slow is a whole lot harder on your pegs. Flying down a dirt road 40 miles an hour on your pegs is no problem, but when you really need that skill is going to be when the terrain is uneven and you're trying to weave your way up or down a hillside or across a creek or some gnarly ruts that you need to get your butt up off of the seat for. Anything that's uneven, you need these skills, and this is the best way to practice it. You don't want to find out that you're lacking in skills when you're out in the middle of nowhere, especially if you're dragging other people along with you. If everybody's struggling, it's not that big of a deal, but if you're the person that's holding everybody back, just a little bit of practice before you get out on the trail. A little bit of practice every week doesn't hurt. And this is a little bit rougher section, but it's not really anything to worry about. I think I even got into a tight turn over here, almost wound up in the mud. But just practicing on your pegs, going slow, using throttle, brake, and clutch for balance. When you're turning, you can make these low, slow speed turns, and sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Apparently, I even had trouble there. This is just, it's a drill, it's an exercise, it's something that will help you improve your skill set and hopefully keep you riding for many, many years to come. And hopefully keep you from going over the handlebars like Big Mama. Anyway, just another skill in your toolbox that you, if you're riding anything, any kind of rough terrain, you're going to need these skills. And practice them in a parking lot first. Nice smooth pavement. If you have trouble, leave me a comment below, and I'll see if I can help fix you. If you want to shoot some video and submit your video on YouTube, I can help you a lot more. Figure out what you're doing wrong and see if we can help that way. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know what your struggles are. I want to see people getting up on their pegs soon, and this is a good place to start.